nobody that's out there that's going to help you. And that has nothing to do with my disability, but nobody's coming to save you and just pull you up top. After interviewing thousands of people, top athletes to top business people to people with disabilities, CEOs, CFOs, and I asked them all 3 questions. Give me your definition of grit. Can grit be taught? And how did you get gritty?
But this really is a book that should inform you, entertain you, inspire you.
Yes.
But it's also a book designed to help you to take action.
To not just read a book, but to take it deeper. And these questions are designed to get to your heart set. So many people lie to themselves and they disparage their own ability and probability of being better or more successful.
So when you buy this book, it's contributing to helping a disabled person to be able to get out there and do those amazing things. That makes their family very happy because they want that for their loved one.
This book just talks about more so life.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. This is the Breaking Barriers podcast powered by SOAR. That is swift, outdoor, accessible recreation. You have to look it up at soarnonprofit.com. We are always looking for people to offer up their time, talent, and treasure. Today, I'm here with a couple of fantastic people, mainly Heather, but also I'm here with the Quadfather, the one and only Brian P. Swift.
Thank you, John.
He is the founder of SOAR. He's an attorney and once again, a top author. Number 1.
Correct.
Went to number 1. This is Developing True Grit. We're going to get into many of the topics. But first, I'd love for you to describe a little bit as to what was the motivation for you to write this book, this particular title with these particular topics.
I believe it came from my journey. Like everybody has a journey of not feeling like you're where you want to be, knowing where you want to be, not necessarily knowing how to get there. But now that I have crossed so many of these, mile markers of getting to where I want, realizing that that journey took a certain real inter-perspective for me to understand how and what it was going to take. Because there's nobody out there that's going to save you. Nobody that's out there that's going to help you. And that has nothing to do with my disability, but nobody's coming to save you and just pull you up top. And I had learned so much. I felt I'd been blessed by so many people, by their insights, by some of their physical support. But ultimately, it's got to come from you, your heart set, mindset, and your hard work. I wanted to put certain philosophies that I used, took, and learned to help others.
Okay, so there's a chapter in here that's called the Grit Process, Chapter 7. And it says, grit cannot be taught. However, you can put your mind and body through tough, gritty training that can eventually give you the trait of grit. So explain that a little bit.
Sure. There are certain things you can't be taught. You can't be taught ethics or morals. You have to live morally to understand and live good morals. There are a lot of people who came from very tough backgrounds, unethical, immoral backgrounds, that live a very moral lifestyle. It's not that they were taught that morality, but they learned how to be a moral person. Same thing with grit. After interviewing thousands of people, from top athletes to top business people to Paralympians, people with disabilities, CEOs, CFOs, and I asked them all 3 questions. Give me your definition of grit. Can grit be taught? And how did you get gritty? And after going through all that and looking at all the answers, and you found similar traits. It's like the best demonstrated practice. That was huge in business in the 90s, when they would dig into what's the best demonstrated practice of their people that were doing the best. Well, I tried to find the same out from gritty people, from David Goggins to David Meltzer to, like I said, athletes. Now, they're not all in the book, But I wanted their data more than I wanted their heart, what they said, what they thought. And really, they all agreed it can't be taught. It's a process you have to go through.
So Heather Kruger, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I'd really love to get your perspective on this. As you sit here and listen to your uncle describe that, you've had a grit journey as well. Describe kind of your perspective as it relates to grit. You've had to break a lot of barriers. We're sitting in a room of a lot of barrier breakers, right? So describe kind of your grit process.
I would have to agree. Like, I think grit, until you go through something life-changing, or it doesn't even have to be life-changing, but just something difficult that you're struggling with, until you get to that point and try to cross that barrier, you don't necessarily know your full potential and what you're capable of. And I've had so many people tell me, like, oh, if I was you, I would never be able to get through that, my liver transplant. I'm like, you say that, but when you're put to the test and it's fight or flight, it's live or die, it really pulls out the grit. So I feel it can be taught in a way, but I feel you have to experience something to pull that out
I'd
of
love
you.
to understand that. I would love your perspective on that, because there's a lot of, let's say, 14, 15, 16-year-olds that have grown up in a very nice suburb. Parents are both successful. They work. And the kid's an athlete. Let's say he's a hockey player. And on the ice, he's just got an unbelievable amount of grit. Gets in the corner, scraps it out. He's the one who'll dig down and get the puck out, right? So, but he's never had like a terrible life experience.
That's
so, like,
true.
where do
It's
you
a
think
different type
that
of-
comes from? Because I get exactly what you're saying, but I
But
just
I
want
see
to
what you're
push back
saying,
and just
though.
see
Yeah, I see
the
what
other
you're
side.
saying,
Where
for
do you
sure.
think that comes from?
That's an easy
Yeah.
answer. It comes from what he learned at practice. It comes from what he learned in the games. It comes from, I guarantee that when he's at home, even though he's not doing anything gritty, he's exercising and doing things and pushing himself. I don't feel like it today. I don't want to go in the garage. It's hot. I want to, you know what? And you sit down and then you realize, I don't want to miss today, because I know the better I get physically, the better I'm going to perform on the ice. And it's not the physicalness, is so much the mental. He just crossed a mental challenge and was honest with himself. And one of the ways you become gritty, the first thing is being 100% honest with yourself. So many people lie to themselves, and they disparage their own ability and probability of being better or more successful. You got to be 100% honest. So that kid, and that's what sports brings out in kids, right? It makes them be honest with themselves. It makes them push themselves. It does a lot of things. And then take an individual sport, and you want to talk about the need for grit. I mean, I've played a lot of sports. I never competed at wrestling, but I had a lot of wrestling friends who I wrestled with because we were guys. I used to give them crap until they tied me up like a pretzel. And that's an individual sport where, guess what? You can't say my teammates didn't perform, man. It's you and another guy on the mat. Or tennis, it's you and that other tennis player. Any individual sport, you don't think those kids are even more gritty in a certain way than team sports, than an individual from a team sport.
So, developing true grit, would you say the first ingredient of that is discipline? Because I think what you both just talked about was there's a repetition to it. There's some life experiences from it, but it's also a choice.
Absolutely. Discipline now will help you outperform all the other factors you used to talk about in being successful. Because when motivation fails, discipline takes over. When inspiration fails, discipline will take over. Discipline, now they're finding, is way more life-changing and lasting than motivation. I mean, motivation is an external factor that somebody says that keeps you motivated for an hour or 2 hours a day, maybe a weekend. Discipline is something that you could keep you going a lifetime because of that consistency. And as you all know, I don't care whether it's exercising, learning to become a runner, a swimmer, hockey player, wrestler, it's discipline. It's the repetition.
Yeah. Heather, how do you massage that?
I would say it's discipline along with your mental perspective, being in the right space. I think a perfect example of that is you look at Navy SEALs. I love watching documentaries about them because it is so mental over physical. Sure, they're going through it in the sand and, no sleep and everything. But if you can get out of your own head and focus on the goal and keep the discipline through that, man, that's, I think, life-changing.
And think about it. If you put 20 guys in this room, my guess is you would be wrong with picking out the 5 that were Navy SEAls.
Or
You'd
the 5 that
I
would
don't
make
see
it.
it. I don't see it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe him, probably him. And guess what? You'd probably be wrong because it is not that.
The burly.
The buff bodybuilder type.
That
No.
is not always.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
case.
not the case, but it is usually not that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. But it's, to Heather's point, it's about mindset. And this book's a lot about mindset. Mindset, heart set. And anybody can change that. Our minds are our minds are malleable. Our brains are malleable, which means they will transform to whatever we decide to transform them into. But most people out there in the world, they haven't even written down goals. That's brainless. I had my 7-year-old kids writing down goals, putting them on the fridge. I explained to them what a goal was. Then as they got older, when they hit in their teens, I had them saying, not just what's your goal, how are you going to get there? How are you going to get better grades?
A lot of people talk about mindset, but I've heard you mention several times heart set, and I don't think that I've ever heard anyone else say that. You're the only one who I've ever heard say heart set. Where did that come from? Did you invent that term? Had you heard it from someone else? Because it makes so much sense when you think about it. Like, yes, mindset, but you could have the greatest mindset if your heart's not in it. Who gives a damn?
Yeah, I think I developed it during a conversation that my dad had with me. Really wasn't a conversation. It was words
lecture.
my dad said to me. Back in those days, we didn't have a ton of conversations unless you were so instructed to engage in one. And I realized that in order for me to keep my family up, as my dad instructed me, in order to keep my family happy, that was my responsibility when I broke my neck. It was my responsibility to keep them smiling. Because as he put it, if I'm smiling, the family will be smiling. If I'm doing good, the family will be good. Now, that being said, I understood it from an intellectual level. But when something touches your heart and your emotion, when you can get the emotion out of somebody, like sales, the big thing in sales was, well, what's in it for them? Solve their problem. You want to go even deeper than that? Get them emotionally involved with that solution and let them know how they're going to feel when they buy, purchase, change, whatever you're trying to get them to do. So back then, that hit my heart.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't use that term in my 20s, 30s, or 40s.
Just kind of hung with you.
But I know that there was no form of discipline I had at that time. Because I hadn't done anything regularly. I was still in the hospital.
This is Heather's point.
With a halo on, screwed into my head with 4 screws. And so I had no discipline.
You hadn't gotten through it yet
No.
to essentially know what it took, so it was hard for you to register.
Oh, but he cranked on my heart.
Yeah.
With 2 monkey
Stuck with you.
wrenches that I could never forget. So once I got through that, in order to accomplish what my dad had kind of put out to me and what I believed to be true and wanted to do, like that hurt my heart.
Yeah.
And if you could, and so it's about heart set will take you even deeper than mindset.
There's a lot of folks out there that are about to face some type of barrier they need to break. There's a lot of folks out there that are in the midst of breaking a barrier as we speak. But there's a ton of people out there that are about to face a major fear, and that might hold them back from breaking that barrier. You talk in chapter 11 about facing your fear. Now, we both know that 365 times in the Bible, do not be afraid is stated. Interestingly enough, there's 365 days in a year. There's like some codes that happen
Yes,
if you read the Bible, and I find it very interesting that "do not be afraid" is said 365 times. So, in order to break a barrier, the first thing you have to do is to overcome fear. So, I'd like for you to talk about that. Then I want to get into a little bit more about how this is relevant for business. So talk to me a little bit about how you overcome fear, how you deal with fear, how you face fear, and how important that is in that mindset, heart set.
Well, it's part of everybody's life, first of all. The strongest guy out there, the fastest gentleman out there, the most successful athlete, there is some fear that has driven them to move where they're at that they overcame. And there is some bit of fear that I think everybody wakes up to subconsciously, maybe not right in front of them, like, oh, I got to get up today. I don't want to make that drive. It's kind of, or, oh, I got to face the boss, or, oh, I've got numbers I got to make, or I'm going to, but in our, so from a business perspective, I mean, what numbers do you got to make? What do you have to, how do you got to perform? Are you getting along with the boss? I think there's fear almost today more than ever in the business industry, especially sales, getting the numbers.
So the other thing is, it used to be in sales, you only were competing with another human. Now you're competing with technology that can work 24/7, 365, never stops, never gets sick, never gets in an argument with its wife, never has emotions that maybe are impacting its day. So there's fear of not only being beat out within the room that you're in or by competition, but now you've got the fear of being beat out by a whole piece of technology that could take your job. So,
and the counter to that is you also have technology on your side. Mm-hmm. And most people today don't know what making 20 door swings is or making 100 calls a day is like. They don't know what it's like to push, to make 100 calls when you're dialing it out. They don't know what it's like to make, they have 15 door swings planned, to go out there and meet face to face, face that negativity, face that
11
rejection.
hard rejections. Yeah.
So there's two sides to that. And they're both real. Mm-hmm. But the person that doesn't make the door swings and the person that doesn't make those phone calls and the person that doesn't take that rejection and slowly slides into that quicksand is the person who doesn't have the mindset and the heart set and the grit set. Just that simple. It's not that they're not capable. It's not that they're not talented enough. Inside, they quit somewhere. That's where it starts. We quit inside. We do little things that get in our own divine direction. Or everybody out there can be successful. I don't care what your disability is. I don't care if you have one or don't have one. I don't care what color you are. I don't care where you came from. I don't care how tall, short, fat, and ugly you are. I have a face for radio. I don't give it. I don't care. I just don't get too caught up into excuses and victim mentality.
Or comparison.
Comparison is a thief of joy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to not compare. And I think that, especially in the business world, there's so much comparison. And you talk to a lot of branding experts about finding your differentiator. You have to compare in order to know your differentiator. But there's another side to it, as you've mentioned there, of what's your I am statement, and focusing more on your I am statement than comparing yourself to competition. I worked for a company, and there was a boss there who he was asked the question about what competition was doing, and he said, I have no idea. We spend so much time focused on what we're doing that we really could care less what competition is doing. How do you break that down to the individual?
An individual should compare every day to the person they see in the mirror. And every day they should compare themselves and say, am I doing the things that are driving me in the right direction? What am I doing to get in my way? Am I not being honest with myself? Am I making excuses? What am I doing to step in the quicksand that keeps me from my divine direction? And most people would be successful if they would just get out of their way.
Let's reverse engineer that. How do you do that? What's the foundation of that, Heather, in your experience? And then we'll have Brian kind of close that down and close the loop for us. But how do you do that?
That's a good question. Working on it myself.
Yeah, me too.
I would say number one, like Brian had said earlier, is to be honest with yourself. Excuses. We had this conversation earlier.
I'm sure the car ride here, there was a lot of conversation. We should start miking those up.
And I think sometimes when we will give reasons why something, we think it's like legit and justified. And it might be, but at the end of the day, it's still somewhat of an excuse because it is prohibiting you from moving forward. It's keeping you stuck. And it's, I would say, somewhat justifying.
We do
for your
that
situation
we do that to
make
essentially
ourselves
soften the
blow.
blow.
On ourselves.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're actually hurting ourselves in order to protect ourselves, which is really odd.
Right. It's like our brain trying to, like when you go through something traumatic and you forget it years later because the brain's trying to protect itself.
Yeah.
I feel like it's similar to.
But in incremental
Yes.
pieces.
Yeah. It is slow. Yeah. Yeah. So I would say first, being honest with yourself. Next was definitely writing down your goals.
Talk a little bit about
Because
that.
The statistics on that for people who actually write it down or just say it, it's a huge difference.
We talked
in
about
the
this in a
results.
previous podcast, the
Okay.
Harvard study that
Yes,
was
yes.
done, right? Yeah.
It's huge, like 60% difference between
Yeah.
people who say them versus write them down. Hey, a tip for everybody out there, look at how many times you use the word but. Every time you use the word but, you're setting yourself back.
We shouldn't use the word but, we should use the word because.
In some instances, yes.
It's almost like the yes and kind of a thing, right? Which I know you're a yes and, but because continues you forward, whereas but
Kind of puts us down.
holds you back, right?
Well, and especially in a conversation, it's like saying, yeah, you're right, but. Well, now you might as well have said you're not right.
Exactly. Yeah.
But, you
Yeah.
know, or I hear you, but that's saying I heard you, but what I'm going to say matters way more. And there's got to be especially in relationships, especially and that's what's, you look at salespeople, they're building relationships, personal relationships, business relationships. The language you use is huge, just absolutely huge. And people don't realize that. And that's why scripts. I don't want to sound scripted. My first job, we had to memorize a script, not so we sounded scripted, but just so we didn't use the wrong verbiage. And there is verbiage.
It's
you
power.
The cost on that. I hope people aren't saying that anymore. It's an investment. Just little things. And those things rattle in people's minds.
I hear you loud and clear because when I was in consulting, the word consultant had people had grown tired of it. Everyone retired, became a consultant. So it was really interesting. We took it out of our nomenclature and we changed it to advisor. And it just was, it just opened things up to a different conversation. So there is power in words. There is power in the words that you select. There's power in the words that you tell yourself, that you teach, that you speak about yourself to others. There's power in all these different things. I'm curious, Brian, what inspired you to write this particular book? Why now? Why this title? Why did you have to get this off your chest? Why is this the lesson?
Because I had written a book with the title Grit in it, and I think I forced a lot of stuff in it, and I wasn't happy with it. And I wanted to put in it some workbook activities that people could actually use and hold themselves accountable to. So some of the chapters have some workbook activities where they have to be honest, not that they have to be honest with themselves, but gives you an opportunity to not just read a book, but to take it deeper. And these questions are designed to get to your heart set now.
Okay.
So if you're truly heartfelt about getting to a better spot in your life, then answer the questions. And not just answer the questions for answer's sake, but answer them from a developmental space that will help you move forward.
Books that have that type of engagement, I think, are more powerful. I think, obviously a book that you read for entertainment is not going to be a section where you're writing in it. But this really is a book that should inform you, entertain you, inspire you.
Yes.
But it's also a book designed to help you to take action. And those are really, really valuable books because you're playing along. And I think that it resonates far more because it goes back to the power of writing something down. It's very smart that you did that. I see why you did it, because if somebody writes it down, they engage in it deeper, which means that they're going to get a better value from reading this book, a life value, not price value, a life value.
Absolutely.
So why should every sales manager, CEO, small to mid-sized business owner buy this book and give it to their team?
One of the words we've all just used today. The first book, and I'm going to add a little more to the last question. The first book probably addressed it from more of a physical standpoint of things getting in your way. This book just talks about more so life, because having a disability is what it is. But I see you sitting there and you may walk in a room with 15 people. You don't know what those people are facing. Half of them could have some form of a disability. It's about life, because they're all sitting there. Nobody's saving them. They're all there to make their life better. Whether you're a salesperson, whether you're in leadership development, management, whatever it is, the same things that hold us back don't come with titles. So that fear can hold a leader, a manager, a CFO, CEO, sales professional back. No different. The titles don't make us exempt from being honest, from dealing with our fears, from having goals. Nothing separates us.
So you're saying a CEO has the same feelings that somebody working a machine in the shop has. Like it doesn't matter what the title is. Everyone's going through the same thing. We're all on a grit journey.
Absolutely. Do you think you have less fears and responsibilities because you have a couple initials after your names or a title? You don't. They're bigger.
Yeah.
They're bigger. There's a way larger cost involved. So the fear factor out there, the honesty factor, is out there no matter what your title is. You're helping hold people to a higher standard, and then not just doing that and saying, yeah, you have faults, but this book is going to say, okay, I've identified opportunities, not faults, opportunities in my game. What can I do to overcome those opportunities and move on to new opportunities? That's why the questions are in here. That's why I wrote this new version of this book. And whether you're a CEO, CFO, in a leader, if you need somebody to come talk to your team, talk to your leadership team, your sales team, your marketing team, I'd be more than glad to do that, because everybody has an opportunity to get better at what they're doing.
So there's brands that go through economic downturn. Every company deals with the economy. It's like the weather, right?
Absolutely.
Like there's two football teams that play in the snow. One team can't blame the snow for losing when the other team played in the snow and won. It's the weather, right? So economic conditions are what they are. There are some brands that make it through an economic condition. There's other brands that don't. There's some brands that gave up too soon. So I would ask you this question. Every brand wants to think that they're gritty. We've been parts of multiple different organizations ourselves. Some not so gritty. Some, holy cow, from top down, just grit. It was like part of the heartbeat of the organization was to be that way. So how do you download grit into an organization, let's say that has 100 employees, 200, 300 employees? Because the bigger you get, the further away from core values and principles
Yes.
The organization gets from maybe the founder, the CEO, or the board. It becomes very difficult when you've got 300 employees to get employee 298, 299, and 300 recently hired to have the same grit that employee 10 has that's been there for 20 years and has seen the ups and downs and the all around. So how do you get some of the things that you talk about in this amazing book downloaded into a group of individuals that are all at the organization for different reasons? Some there for a paycheck, some there for community, some there for a lifetime, some, who knows the reason that they're there. But how do you get that grit factor downloaded into a brand?
You call me and you hire me, and I will give you that answer.
That was an easy answer.
No, I'm joking. And
Seriously
I'm not
joking.
Seriously joking. I would love to have that conversation with more leaders and corporations, founders. So it is not something that happens overnight. Mm-hmm. You're developing a culture.
Now we're talking culture.
This is a cultural change, possibly. Mm-hmm. I was asked to come in to a very Christian-led organization that's mission statement was almost out of the Bible. Rule number one, basically, treat others as you would like to be treated.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, thou shalt not kill.
Oh, no, that's
that one too.
That's what core value number one. Don't kill your neighbor.
Not the first commandment.
Yeah. Oh,
but that
different.
But
got it.
We say, do unto others, and it for them, and they have been crazy successful. And they asked me to come in and do a leadership course through my John Maxwell training and whatnot. So I did that, but I look at that organization that I'm very close to, and it started with their mission statement. It started with from the top down, living, having that grit mindset, grit heart set, and developing that within the people they hired, and then living it. Now, it's a culture, right?
How do you
long
do it,
does
though?
it take to change a culture in a business?
Well, I mean, a 300 employee company, it's like turning a battleship. So I can't imagine some of these companies have 30,000 employees, right?
Yeah.
40,000 employees. I mean, that's the size of a large. I just drove through Park Ridge. Park Ridge had 30,000 employees on the sign when you go into their town. That's the population. How do you get 30,000 people in an organization to kind of be gritty, to think a certain way, to behave a certain way? Is it the same way that you would get a company with 10 employees?
Same way you eat an elephant.
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. You start with your leadership team and you make sure everybody's on the same page. Mm-hmm. If they do not have that philosophy, if they do not buy into that, if they don't buy into your new mission statement, if that's something you're going to change or add to, you've got to have 100% buy-in, at least from your leadership team. Mm-hmm. Now, a company with 3,000 employees certainly doesn't have 100% buy-in. It doesn't need 100% buy-in. Mm. And if you're trying to change those 10 people that don't buy in, you're really looking at it the wrong way. Because at some point, that is natural turnover. And most of that turnover is not because they're not making the money, it's because those people aren't being honest with themselves, haven't given the job 110%, and maybe feel unwanted, but they've really driven themselves into that. But you have to start at the top and work its way down. And you've got to be very, very honest with your expectations on the time it's going to take to do it. But you know what? The best time to start might have been 5 years ago. The second best time is today.
Right now.
Right now.
When's the best time to get better? Right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's all we have.
So where would you start? Let's just play a game here. 20 employee company, contractor. Where would you start? What would be the first thing? I call you up and I say, look, we're a growing company, but I have a little bit of fear that we've got some splinters in the organization. As we continue to scale, I'm starting to get nervous that I've got a group over here that do it one way. I've got a group over here that maybe do it another way. And I've got some voices in the organization that maybe just they're powerful, but they don't completely align with me, but they're very valuable to the organization. Like, where would you start? Like, how do I get that under control? Where do you start me in that conversation?
I mean,
What's
first
the exercise?
Yeah, I've got to have a conversation with you, and or you and your immediate. Maybe there's 2 owners, 3 owners. I've got to see where all your heart sets and mindsets are. You guys alone on the same page, and then from there, maybe have a conversation with that next line, and develop a plan. Not every plan is similar. Not every companies have the same issues, the same types of splinters, but then develop a plan based on, hey, we would like to become more gritty, maybe Christian driven in what we're doing. Well, what are you doing, like, from a corporate responsibility standpoint? Like, do your employees see you as a Christian, like as a giving company? No, we don't do much. We don't donate to anything. We don't donate our time. Now, this company that's a manufacturing company that I talked about that's Christian driven, they give their employees a half a day off, an opportunity to go work for any nonprofit out there, and they still get paid. Now, some people may think it's funny, it's ridiculous, it's not necessary, but I've seen the impacts that's had
Oh, certainly.
on this company, knowing that this leader does that and still pays them to go spend 3 hours they're taken out there, giving them lunch to help another company. And it's nonprofit all the time and whatnot. And it starts with little things. Man, little things make a big difference. My dad blessed me with an understanding that a simple pat on the back every week, and I was young in my 30s, I made a point of telling the person who had the worst week, which, in sales was a numbers game, thank you for working. I know you had a tough week.
Yeah.
Thank you. And reminding them it's just a moment in time.
When it's even more important to say thank you, right? Because if you want them to get out of that rut, you're going to have to pull them out.
Absolutely. It's like your kids. You know what? The hardest time to tell them I love you is when they deserve it the least.
Yeah.
And it is hard. You're a parent. The hardest time, sometimes a smile and put your hand around your kid, is when they need it the least. But that is zigging when they think you're going to zag. And I'm telling you, it is magical. And we don't do that enough in corporate. We don't do that. We're not taught to do it.
Yeah.
But you would believe the response you get out of people, something that simple. I used to get my butt chewed out every month about my turning in my expense report. Oh, you bought food for your team again. You can't be buying food for your team every month. Well, I one night a month we commit to stay late. Well, they're hourly employees and they shouldn't be staying late, or they could be looked at. I got the whole HR jerk off conversation. We can't be staying.
HR stand for again? Human resources. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, so I got the, everything from, and it wasn't a big amount. I mean, I didn't expense, but yeah, once a month I treated my crew to a nice dinner, whether it was, most usually time was brought in to the office, but the play I got from that, the buy-in I got from that, it wasn't for the guys doing well. It was for the team.
Yeah.
I didn't care how well you were doing. If you showed up to work and you were still doing what you were supposed to be doing, it gave them time to see me outside of the work atmosphere. And I brought it, bringing in a Nerf ball and hoop. The little things that, that make a big difference.
Just lighten the mood.
Same thing with driving a message, driving a grit message. You could have an outing right at where you're at and do some things that kind of pull the team together that aren't easy. But you have to have a plan. There's got to be buy-in, as you well know. And you've got to manage expectations and let it grow. Because once it catches on, it's like a fire. They're small at first. And no matter how much wood you throw on a new fire, what does a lot of wood do to a small fire? It burns it out. It's small. It stops it from growing if you throw too much at it. But once it catches, it's hard to stop. Let it catch. You got to give it. It's like a fire. Let that fire.
Let it breathe.
Let it breathe.
Yeah.
And once you start to get buy-in, it's selling itself now.
Yeah. So what's step one to that? Like when you say, you keep referring to you have to have a plan. Okay. So what's sentence one in the plan?
I think it depends on what you want to change.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to know.
So is that sentence one?
Sentence one.
I want to change.
Right. The culture. I want a grittier culture. I want a happier culture, a friendlier culture, whatever that is. You've got to know that. I can't tell you what you should have.
Yeah.
You're living it. You're seeing it, living it, breathing it, losing sleep over it every day.
Yeah.
Let's sit down and start there with tell me what. It's like leaving your house, right? If you woke up, got dressed, jumped in your car, turned it on, headed down the street. If you didn't know where you were going, what would that day be like?
Yeah.
Well, you got to tell me where you want to go. I got to know the end. I got to know where my destination is in order to map that out.
Heather, you are such an integral part of Brian's life, and obviously somebody that he's mentoring, but you also play such a role in just the day-to-day of what's going on. But you've got your own thing going as well. So I'm curious, how has watching Brian write this book and put it together and go through the process of promoting it and all that, how has that impacted you? And then more so, what within this book are you going, yeah, I really need to implement that? Sounds like there's been some inside baseball going on.
You might have been in our car ride.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay.
I mean,
so,
I do have the tendency to kind of be able to feel stuff.
Pinpoint.
Maybe I'm a
Yeah.
bit of an empath. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just kind of got a feeling that that's an hour drive. There was some messages happening in that drive. I also know you are on your own journey. Your journey of being a speaker, your journey of being an author, your journey of having movies written about your story and all kinds of crazy stuff. So you're on a journey on your own. Mm-hmm. This is a guy that I'm certain that you're leaning on, but that's also probably tough because you're so close. You're you're related. Like,
it's not tough for me.
It's not tough for you because you're delivering the message. It is tough to let it breathe. It is tough to
Right.
embrace it. So I'm curious, like, what have you taken from this? What are you using?
And before she answers that, we're saving another podcast for kind of revealing Heather's journey and where it led her. Mm-hmm. So we'll stay away from that. But you're 100% right. I say things to her. She knows I care, don't care.
Yeah.
And because she won't get that message from anywhere else, and she knows I'm right. And she does have...
Doesn't that suck?
Yeah, it's a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just be wrong.
I mean, it is what it is.
But doing the right thing is always harder.
Oh yeah, it's like
Doing the right thing is always harder.
Road.
It's a longer ride. Mm-hmm. There is no shortcut to doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. But there's no having to go back and fix or correct. There's no guilt. There's no shame with doing the right thing. You can always sleep easy, right?
Knowing you did the right.
Yeah, but it takes longer.
Yeah.
It's harder.
Yeah.
And so you're on that path, right?
Yeah.
You
it's
can
more
either
of
have the pain of success, what it takes,
the pain of regret.
or the pain of regret. Which one's worse?
Oh, regret, because you know what you're capable of and what you're producing, and they don't add up.
Who's getting in your way?
Yourself. All the time. It's you versus you, always. I'm my biggest enemy. Everyone is. I mean, like, so as far as your question, like, his book, his story, has always inspired me and has lifted me from dark places to where, like, okay, I have no excuse.
Yeah.
I can walk on my 2 feet. And not all disabilities or mental health or things are visible. So I acknowledge that too.
But not every disabled person is as wise as Brian either. There's really fantastic disabled people, but they're people too. There's a lot of assholes as well.
Right.
And Brian happens to be one of the really good ones that's really wise, that really is caring. He comes at you in a hard way of how he's caring, but it is caring. It's always coming from a great place. But it is difficult. I will tell you, I woke up this morning. I don't know. I was having like really bad dreams last night. I don't know why. But that doom came in. And you know the doom of being an entrepreneur. It starts to sneak up. And you're like, you know what? I just felt like when I was driving in this morning, I'm like, everyone's going to cancel on me. Like, I just feel it. I don't know why, but this is too good to be true. This is all going to blow up. Like, I'm literally walking through these in my mind.
Like setting yourself up.
And then I had, and then I had to kind of like check myself and be like, whoa, where is this coming from? And then I had to rewrite the story just for the day. You know, you can rewrite the story for your life. But sometimes you have
to go hour by hour.
I had to rewrite the hour. Like,
Yeah.
so you know what I did? I instead of on the drive to my first recording, I listened to the Bible. I'm like, this is the only thing that's going to get me out of this. I just needed the peace. And it's amazing how that kind of just brings you back. But I had a little grit moment myself where I had a choice to either bury myself with anxiety or to do the harder thing. I wanted to listen to the SOAR, but I forced myself to listen to the Bible, and it paid off.
Always does.
Always does.
We call it mind effing ourselves.
Yeah, we do that, don't we?
Oh,
Whether it's that or exercising or doing something to kind of like recalibrate yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a little cliffhanger. We are going to get into a deeper conversation with Heather. Is there anything else that you want to touch upon as it relates to the book?
no, you know what? I was blessed to have it go to be an Amazon best-selling book, a #1. I had a lot of support. So I would say to people out there, get support, have support, ask for help. You can't do it all on the way to the top, and you don't want to be alone at the top. Bring others with you. So it's available on Amazon, and I'm sure all the major platforms. Again, I was blessed. I guarantee it will help. I guarantee it will change your life if you're honest with it. And I appreciate the support out there.
I'm going to ask for help as well. And this is a tremendous advice that you just gave. And I'm going to say this to anyone who's listening that might, let's say, be a content creator or host a podcast. You can't just put the content out there and just leave it be. You have to ask people to subscribe. You have to ask people to engage. You have to ask people to check out your podcast when a new episode releases. You have to religiously do this. You have to send people DMs with a link to the episode and ask them to like, subscribe, and view. You have to write posts about your experience on your own show. You have to self-promote. It is no different if you're writing a book. It's no different if you achieve something fantastic at work and you want to get a promotion. You have to tell everyone in the building the amazing thing that you just did in the role that you're in so that people pay attention to you for that upcoming promotion. If you're not promoting yourself, you're really doing yourself a disservice. And by the way, if you're not willing to promote yourself, why should anyone else be willing to promote you? You apparently don't even believe in your own self, right? So like, if you want us to promote you, then you kind of not need to be willing to promote yourself. So here we are promoting this fabulous book. And we really would hope that you would take the time to go on Amazon or wherever you buy your books and pick up Developing True Grit by Brian P. Swift. You will not be disappointed. This is a fantastic book to give somebody as a gift as well. Maybe you know somebody that's in that bit of a rut. Perhaps they have that fear. Maybe they're about to tackle something big in their life, like starting a business. And this would be a great gift for them just to get their mind right, their heart set and their mindset to go into that really difficult situation. So we are asking for your help because Brian just said that that's in fact what we should do. So we're asking you $20 price point. This is $20 for valuable wisdom, real life wisdom that will make you thousands and thousands of dollars. I think $20 for thousands and thousands of dollars makes a lot of sense. And it's a fantastic read, and it's an easy read. It's in font that even my blind self can see.
Committed. I'm so tired of reading books and I know I need glasses. I need cheaters or glasses. And I committed and I told the publisher it is not going to be written in like 10 or 11. I want it larger because I want a larger period.
Yeah.
And invest $20 in yourself. You're not investing it in me. Any proceeds go right to our nonprofit,
Yeah.
SOAR. So you're helping people with disabilities. Two, you're helping yourself. And that costs time, energy, effort, and the truth. Here's a great time for you to help yourself.
And we're going to talk about it again. Once you've purchased this book and you've read through it and you've downloaded it into yourself and then into your team and you've told everyone about it and you're looking for something to give back to, a great way to do that is www.soarnonprofit.com. Brian and his team are working extremely hard to support 61 million disabled folks throughout the United States. Brian's key to life is getting outside, doing activities, feeling like you're part of an everyday process, like you're part of society. Even if you're disabled, you're just built different. But there needs to be accessibility for you to be able to fish, to hunt, to kayak, to do all these different things. So when you buy this book, it's contributing to helping a disabled person to be able to get out there and do those amazing things. That makes their family very happy because they want that for their loved one. And it will make Brian very happy because he is fighting hard with a lot of grit to make sure that disabled people have a big old smile on their face and can do things that they really hope to do. We hope that you enjoyed this episode of Breaking Barriers, powered by SOAR. Thank you so much. Please come back. Once again, please subscribe and tell us in the comments what you thought of this episode. I hope there was great value. Have a great day.